What's going on, party people? It's that time again. It's time to go for another drive with Ollie, aka the Bearded Beauty, aka Big Coach Daddy, aka Ollie Bird, aka Oliver Belizzle. I don't know, I got lots of nicknames. I'm like Method Man. Alright, here we go. As always, my goal is to not get into an accident. I think it's a pretty modest goal. I'm going to do my best. So what are we going to talk about on this drive, my friends? I thought we could talk about the difference between pain and suffering. Because, in my opinion, there is a difference. And the difference is that pain is a physiological reaction to stimuli. Suffering is psychological pain. It's mental pain. It's not rooted in your body necessarily. It has to do with your emotions. It has to do with your mindset. When you're depressed, you are suffering. But you're not necessarily in pain. When you're angry, you are suffering. It doesn't feel good to be angry. But you're not necessarily in pain. And so, the opposite is also true. You can experience pain without experiencing suffering. You can break your arm, and that hurts, obviously, and there's no denying that. And there's nothing you can do about that pain. Your arm is broken, your body is going to continue sending signals to you saying, hey, guess what? Something is terribly wrong right now. That's pain. It's a signal. It's a physiological reaction to stimuli that your body is not okay with. So if you burn your hand, that sensation of your skin burning is a signal. Your body is saying, you better move your fucking hand out of the fire, my friend, or else we're going to be in trouble. Oftentimes when we're in pain or when we experience pain, we also experience its psychological counterpart, which is suffering. We become frightened. We become fearful. We become depressed because we don't feel good, because physically we're experiencing pain. But I am of the opinion that these two things are not necessarily connected. So as I was saying, you could experience physical pain without experiencing the mental symptoms, the mental counterpart of pain. Pain is physical and mandatory. It's unavoidable. You can't avoid pain. Eventually it's going to happen. No matter how careful you are, no matter how diligent you are, you're going to stub your toe. You're going to bang your elbow. You're going to get a cold. You're going to get sick. You're going to experience physical discomfort and pain in your life. It's just unavoidable. I don't know anybody who has gone through their life and not experienced pain. Suffering is not pain. It is mental, not physical. And for the most part, it is totally voluntary. I say for the most part because there is some suffering that is unavoidable, just like pain. But it's a very small percentage. Out of all of the negative emotions and negative feelings that we have, only a small percentage of those is unavoidable. The vast majority of negative emotions and inner turmoil, I believe, is voluntary. And you can choose to avoid it. You can choose to react differently to whatever is causing you to feel that way. And so how do we break the link between pain and suffering? Because a lot of people have told me this. They say, well, I agree with what you're saying, but why is it that every time I feel pain, I also suffer? I believe that it has to do with our beliefs regarding pain. It has to do with how we've been conditioned or brought up to regard physical pain. To put it mildly, we have been bred to fear pain and avoid it at all costs. We have been conditioned to regard pain as evil and bad and not desirable, to the point where even good pain is avoided by the majority. I've used this analogy in one of our Daily Bread videos. I think it was the Aldous Huxley quote that I read about ignorance of self is voluntary, because anybody can learn to know themselves if they just put in the work. And then at the end he says the reason people don't do this is because introspection is painful. Well, not all pain is bad, like I said in that video. The bodybuilder does not regard the pain and discomfort of sore muscles as a bad thing. In fact, the bodybuilder regards that pain as a sign of progress. So I personally think that a big part of our... So I personally think that the main reason we associate pain and suffering is because we have been bred to do so. When we stop regarding pain as something that is evil, something that is terrifying, something that we have to avoid at all costs, and we think of pain as something that is unavoidable, something that is simply a message from your nervous system to your brain. It's not this big, bad, evil thing. In fact, it's quite good. If you couldn't feel pain, you would probably die very early on in your life. Because the pain is a warning signal, as I said. So without pain, you wouldn't do so well in the survival game. Pain is an advantage. It's something that you need. Because without pain, you don't know when you're doing something that your body is not into, or when you're doing something very dangerous that could potentially end your life. So let's regard pain as it is. Let's strip all of our beliefs and all of our fears and all of our assumptions about pain away. And let's just treat pain as it is. Because it's nothing more than a signal. It's not something that you need to be afraid of. And in some cases, it's not even something you need to avoid. In fact, sometimes it's unavoidable. Once we regard pain for what it is, and we stop to layer on all of these irrational fears and beliefs on top of it, I believe it's possible to experience pain without suffering. The suffering comes from our beliefs about pain. It doesn't come from pain itself. It comes from our belief that pain is a bad thing. And so when we experience pain, we think, oh, this is so bad. Oh, it's so bad. I don't want to be in pain. Why? Why me? And that's where suffering comes from. So how do you handle pain? What do you do with pain when it presents itself? Well, if you can, you need to mitigate it. So if you put your hand in the fire, take your hand out of the fire. That's a good first step. Then go run it under cold water. Go get it treated. Go to the hospital and get treated for a burn. Do what you have to do to mitigate it. But if it can't be avoided, because you have a chronic illness, for example, or because you have something that just can't be fixed right now, then the best thing that you can do is accept the pain. Surrender to the pain. Let it happen. Stop fearing it, stop resisting it, and go along with it. Because there's nothing else you can do. If you can't prevent the pain, if you can't stop the pain, if you can't mitigate the pain, then the only thing that you can do at that point is at least prevent yourself from experiencing inner turmoil. You still have a choice, and you still have the option to make it better. By not adding to it. By not creating additional discomfort for yourself. Through this belief that pain is inherently evil or bad. And I'm home. So remember, my friends, pain is physiological and unavoidable. Suffering is psychological and, for the most part, entirely voluntary. You choose whether you suffer or not. But you can't choose whether you experience pain or not. You can avoid some pain, you can mitigate some pain, but the sad truth is that, unfortunately, some pain is entirely unavoidable. So if you're ever in a situation where you are experiencing that kind of pain, the kind of pain that can't be avoided or mitigated, then do yourself a favor. Embrace it, surrender, and write it out. Because if you keep telling yourself that it's so bad, and you keep wishing you weren't in pain, and you keep resisting the pain, you're only adding to it by creating unnecessary suffering for yourself. All right, my friends, live well, and I'll see you next time.